Welcome to She Leads Boldly, the podcast for faith-driven women navigating high-stakes leadership without compromising what matters most. I am Sharika Sanders, your host, mentor, and kingdom business leader. Here, we embrace bold leadership rooted in purpose, not pressure. This space is for the woman who refuses to choose between faith and ambition, family and fulfillment, impact and rest. Each week, you'll hear powerful conversations, practical strategies, and spirit-led wisdom to help you advocate for yourself, lead with integrity, and rise without burnout. If you're ready to lead boldly, live faithfully, and never settle for less than what God has promised, you're in the right place. I'm not really sure if I ever really thought about themes for this platform, but if I had to go with one for the month of June, it would be taking bold action, bold steps, truly leading boldly. And leading boldly may not necessarily or always be team related or, leading your family and things like that. But it could also be how you lead yourself, how you guide yourself, self-discipline, or just doing that thing that you know you're supposed to do in spite of what everyone else says or what you are afraid people will think or any of those things. And today I feel led to share a more personal story of my taking bold faith, bold action, leading boldly, and really emphasizing my trust in God and how I've faced challenges with faith, and hopefully to help you do the same. And so I want to go back to my time in corporate. So I was in corporate America and in the accounting space. I was in accounting for over 15 years, area that I never thought I would be in. I was always great in math, but I don't know, never saw myself as an accountant. And but an area that I performed quite well in. So I was always that person, like my husband would say quite a few times, you ever thought about having a side business or a side hustle or small or whatever? I don't know. And maybe, I don't know if it was the idea of side hustle, then that terminology that I didn't like, or just knowing about the little that I knew about entrepreneurship and how people always talked about the struggle and you don't have your own time and all of these different things. And the ones who did seem to love it are the ones who had been in that space or been in the entrepreneurial space for years. But it was only after they had gone through all of the unknowns. And I've never been a fan of the unknown. So that in itself lets you know that I was truly not submitted to God, because to be truly submitted to God, you have to be comfortable with not knowing and comfortable with not having control. And that is not who I was as a person. And although I didn't think it was that, I thought it was just, I'm not a risk taker. And that's what I summed it up to. And so anyway, I was in the corporate space and during COVID, and COVID is such a mile marker for so many people for so many reasons and changes that happen in their life. And for me, it was working from home and, hearing my family say how it was nice to see me and have me at home because I was always gone with work, either getting up early, coming home late or coming home late, but, in the office at my desk or whatever, still trying to get work done. And so, but it was also during that time that I think my eyes were open, I guess I'll say it like that, to the people around me and the environment that I was in as far as my job was concerned, and how it was just so toxic. And I knew it wasn't the healthiest place, but for whatever reason, having to deal with them in my own space, and maybe that's what really made it, kind of click for me, that I was in my own space and having to deal with such toxicity. So I was like, oh my gosh, I don't like being in this place anymore. So ultimately we had to end up going back to work probably a lot earlier than a lot of other people, because our CFO was just one that he wanted everybody in the office. And if he could have had us in the office during the shutdown, he absolutely would have. But legally he couldn't. And that's the only reason why we were home. And so He even went as far as to have some people coming to his house every day to work. I was not going to be one of those people. I do have boundaries. Like, we're not doing that just to appease you. And everybody's sitting in each other's face. And then at some point, one got sick and they were all sick. And yeah, because you sit in each other's face. Anyway, focus. So we went back into the office, but it wasn't the same for me. I was no longer happy to be there. I no longer enjoyed the environment, and I really knew it's truly time to go. And so I started looking for something else, or because that's what I thought. You're not happy with your job, find another one, right? So I did, and I'm like, okay, finally, being in a better place, I guess I would say. Being in a better place. So I found another role, went to another company, fine, all is well. But it was still something missing. And I'm like, something is off. The people are cool, but something is off. And I don't know what it is. I really don't even feel like myself. I'm not just happy with the person in the mirror, and I don't know what to do about it. And I remember we were on vacation during this time, and I was already frustrated because I'd had to take work with me, my laptop with me on vacation to do something that someone else could have done, but the CFO just wanted me to do it. And I also realized he used to do things like that and kind of test what I feel like, test my loyalty to the company. Like if I had to be off for something, he would call and didn't want anything. But I realized he just wanted to know that if he called, I would answer the phone. And like, what kind of crap is that? And so I was like, Lord, I don't know what to do. I need help. And I don't know if I think around that time I started going to YouTube to listen to different things. And I don't even know how I was prompted to do that because it's never something that I thought or cared to do before. But whatever video I was looking at that I clicked into was talking about it's time for you to fast. And specifically the Daniel fast. And for anyone who isn't familiar, the Daniel fast is a 21-day fast, fruits, vegetables. There are a few other things like grains, but ideally no sugar, no meat, nothing to drink but water, and things like that. And so I was like, okay, I asked for guidance and I think this is it. So I need to fast. And so I made it a point to do that once I returned back home. And I was like, Lord, during this fast, and for those of you who don't know, anytime you're looking to fast, write down or talk to God. I do both really. But what is it that you're seeking to get out of this fast? Is it just to show your commitment and praise to God? Is it because you truly need something to happen? Like, what is the purpose? What is the ideal? And that's something you definitely need to have a conversation. Go into your secret place and talk to God about it to make sure that you're on the same page. Because ideally, when you're fasting, 9 times out of 10, you're being led to. But you want to make sure that, you're on the same page. You're fasting and saying, Lord, nothing's happening. I don't see why. Well, have you submitted your request? How many of us familiar with the scripture? You have not because you asked not. So have you truly submitted your request? And to also be clear, fasting isn't just a thing that we do when we want God to move, like to say, oh, I need my car fixed. We need to make rent. So let me just fast real quick. Like it's not this is maybe a bad analogy, but a buy here, pay here lot. Like, oh, let me pop up and get this done so I can get this thing quick. No, I mean, yes, we can fast if we're in need, but if that's your only reason that you come to God, if that's the only reason you're sacrificing just so you can gimme, this is not going to work. So anyway, I was like, okay. And I was like, Lord, I'm starting this fast, and during this time, I just really need your guidance. I don't understand what's going on. And also during this time, I had started to have some really serious things going on with my health that just out of the blue, almost like pains that I couldn't explain, dizzy spells, things happening with my cycle. Like it was just crazy. And I'm like, something is like really happening to my body and I can't explain it. And it's scaring me, honestly. But also I don't know just what's going on with my life. And so I did this fast. And one of the consistent messages that I heard during this fast, consistent messages that I saw, was about entrepreneurship. And I couldn't understand it. Why do I keep seeing things about starting your business? Why do I keep seeing things about getting a business coach? Why do I keep seeing things about contract help? Like, what is this? And why am I seeing it? Somebody who, like, this is a waste of an advertisement, because I'm not going into entrepreneurship. And that was my thought the first, I don't know, probably a few days, because it was consistent that I would see this. And then I was like, wait, God, are you trying to tell me I need to start my own business? Like, what? I've committed W-2 till I die. Like, everybody does not have to be a business owner, an entrepreneur. And I am one of the ones that were meant to be in corporate. So I don't understand. So, but I'm like, I'll yield if that's what you're saying. I truly need confirmation, because this is so far left. I need to make sure I'm not going crazy. And so I remember shortly after having that prayer, maybe a day or so later, I had dinner with a friend, and she started talking to me about my business and starting my business and all of this stuff. And I was like, what is happening? And I didn't even mention anything to her about it. I was just thinking in my head, like, Lord, seriously? Because we had never, ever, ever talked about me having a business, starting a business, a desire for a business. But she was just like, what about starting your own business and doing this, that, and the other? I don't even think we were talking about work. Like, it just came out of nowhere. And I was like, I guess I asked for a sign. But I was still like, I don't know. I'm like, I have to know that this is you, because it's out of my comfort zone. It's far left. I don't know what my husband's going to say, like all of these things. And so I continued to see the different things about entrepreneurship. And I was like, okay, I guess that's what you're telling me to do. So I'm going to have a conversation with my CFO, and I guess we'll take it from there. And well, I had one with my husband first, of course. And we came to an agreement that, okay, this is what I do. My husband hesitantly came to the agreement, but we came to the agreement. And, I'll tell more about that story maybe at a later date and time. But so I had a conversation with the CFO, like, it's time for me to go. I have to resign. And he, of course, kind of fought the decision. I let him know I'll be turning in a written notice, but I just wanted you to know. And so he kind of had pushback and, what is it we can do? Is it more money? Is it this? Is it all these things? We can get you more help, all this stuff. And it's, first of all, let me be clear. For those of you, they know when you have a lot, and especially if you've expressed it. And if you haven't, you should express it. Like, hey, it's a lot going on. I have a lot on my plate or whatever. But they see those things. They understand it. And if it takes you turning in a notice for people to say, oh, now I see you, now I want to help, they don't truly want to help. They just want to benefit themselves and not have themselves lack or have to recover or, do any additional work. It's not about you at all. And so please do not use a notice, turning in a notice, unless, God tells you to do so. But please do not use turning in any type of 2-week notice as an ultimatum or a threat. And even if you don't say it like that, just turning it in and saying, knowing that, oh, all I have to do is counter and I'm done. I'm sold. I'm back. Because yeah, it may all seem fine and well, but now what you've done is let them know that, oh, she no longer has, no longer has loyalty to our organization. And so maybe we should start looking to replace her, or maybe we should start looking to fill this role, or, thinking about other options, because we don't really know if she's going to stick this out, if she's going to still decide she wants to leave, any of those things. Like, you almost become a liability. So I would definitely say to, if you're planning to leave, just stick with the plan to leave. And if for some reason they come back and they counter and give you, and God tells you to stay, first of all, God needs to tell you to leave to even turn in the notice. But if for some reason he comes back and say, okay, now I want you to stay, fine. But otherwise, roll with it, because you were leaving for a reason, and understand that ideally the people have not changed. So anyway, they tried to counter and all these other things. And I said no. And so it took a few weeks because I was still like, Lord, is this truly you telling me to do this? Before I actually turned in a written notice. But can I tell you that once I made that decision to turn in my notice and to leave, all of the things that were going on with my health and fibroids that I'd never had an issue with before, like all of these things stopped, like out of the blue. So if there was another confirmation that I needed that I was going in the right direction, it was that. And so it took a few weeks, but I eventually turned in my notice. And then even after it took almost a month actually to turn in my notice. And then even after I turned in the notice, I gave another 60 days. In total, they had a 90-day notice from me. Because one, I was still a little afraid because I really didn't know if I was doing the right thing. It was so far out of my comfort zone. And I felt like maybe if God just needed some time to tell me to do something else, or maybe because what I truly thought when I started the fast is like God would lead me to this magical company for this magical role and all would be well in the world. And it would be a great salary and great bonus, but I wouldn't have the stress. And that's what I thought. But how many of us know we need to submit our plans to the Lord? And that brings me, I love to have a scriptural reference, and I already had a few, but this one just brings up Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. And in some versions it says, make your path straight. But ideally, he will tell you where to go. And for me, I was still struggling with my trust, my complete trust. But I'm like, I think he's calling me to do this. And so I did. And so I left corporate and I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? And this is where I did make the mistake because I didn't truly seek God to say, what is it that you want me to do as an entrepreneur? What is it you're calling me to do? What truly is my purpose? I said, okay, you want me to have my business. What is it you want me to do? Oh, I know. It must be something accounting related because I'm a great accountant. I do this well. So that must be what you want me to do, right? And so I took measures to offer accounting related services, auditing, helping with their audits, things like that. And I was doing very well. And I was so thankful and so grateful and so blessed because I'm like, this is it. Thank you, Lord. But what I realized is that, okay, Sharika, God has done this for you. He's truly blessed you. How many people start a business in such a profitable position? I was, well paid in the six figures in corporate and starting my own business, making even more. Like, who does that? So I'm like, but are you truly submitted? Have you really given thanks to God outside of, oh, thank you, Lord. And so I made a commitment and I said, Lord, you've done so much for us. You've blessed us in so many ways. And I want to choose you. I wanted to make it my choice, not by force. By force meaning I don't want things to start happening in my life so crazy and so bad that I have no choice but to come to you and yield to you, because ultimately our purpose here in this space, in this life, is to worship God, is to live according to his purpose. And so if you're not doing that, you will in some form or fashion, or he has no use for you. Sorry. So, I'm like, I don't want this to end. And so I know my motives were wrong. I wanted to truly submit to God, but I wanted to truly submit to God, not because, I wanted to just grow in my relationship. It was because you are blessing me and we have financial success and all is well in the world. And I don't want you to stop doing that. So let me just build up this relationship. So almost like I was using him. And it took me a really long time to realize that, because I was like, I submitted, like, what's the problem? So I submitted and I said, I'm truly, surrendering to God. And I think God wanted to know if I was for real about it. So what did he do? He dried it all up. The clients stopped, like everything just came to like a screeching halt, where I had no clients, no incoming, no prospect of money coming in. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, Lord, I said I was surrendering to you. Are you doing this because, okay, I get it. You're leading me to that next big thing. So any minute now, got it. I just need to make sure I get up in the mornings and say a prayer and, maybe listen to a sermon on YouTube and all is well. No, 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 no. I went for months with nothing coming in and pulling from savings and all of these other places. And it was truly, truly, truly my wilderness. And what I realized during that time, so many things. One, how I need to make space for God, how I need to truly trust him, how I needed to seek his face and not his hand, how I needed to make my intimate time with him important, how I needed to pray more, how I needed to start to read my word, which I did. And I started to have, and I asked God to increase my desire, because how many of us are like, said, the Bible's boring or whatever. I asked God to please increase my desire. But one thing that also helps with that, don't try, if you're starting to try to read the Bible, I did it through a Bible plan on YouVersion, but don't try to start, I would not suggest with like King James or something with the thous and arts and all of this stuff. Try to start, I would say, with like a Message version, English Standard, NLT, NIV, New International Version, any of those that makes it a little bit simpler to read. And I mean, read not just from the app, but truly have it in your hand reading it, because to me, that just hits different. And so it was, during that time that God really started to speak to me. But in all honesty, it was still like, okay, I'm surrendering, God. When are you going to take me out of this place? And I learned that that was just my immaturity, because while I stayed in my wilderness, and I'll call it that because I felt like my journey was similar to that of the Israelites. We see we hear all these stories in the Bible and we think that was Bible times, but so much of that is so relatable, so easy relatable to our day to day. And if you truly take the time to invest in intimate time with God, you will see that for yourself. You will see how things are revealed to you, or how it's relatable, or how it's like, oh my gosh, I went through this same thing with, how like the Holy Spirit will impart this knowledge into you. And so, to me, it was understanding that my journey, how it was like those of the Israelites. So the Israelites were slaves in Egypt. They were freed ultimately by force, but they were freed, out of Egypt, and they spent 40 years in the wilderness. And I've heard some people that say it was really a 3-day journey. Some that say it was maybe should have only taken like a couple of weeks, but the journey took them 40 years. And it took them 40 years because God needed them to truly surrender. He needed them to submit. He needed them to trust in him. Like he needed to get his people back to him. And so, while I don't wish a 40-year journey on anyone, I realized my time in corporate was my Egypt. And I say that because at some point in the wilderness, the Israelites were like to Moses, like, you took us out of Egypt. We were slaves, but we still had food to eat, and we had to work under harsh circumstances. But, we had a place to live. And so corporate was my Egypt. It paid me well, but I was stressed out. I was starting to have issues in my health. My time was not my own, but I made good money and was able to live a life that, our family lived a life that we truly loved, and to travel. And even if I did have to work when we traveled, I was still able to travel and just, really not living the life of freedom that God has called me to live. And so I realized corporate was my Egypt. And when God freed me from that place, I had to go into the wilderness. But it was because he needed to prepare me for the next level. And so he put me in a place of isolation. And yes, I'm married. I have 3 kids and a dog. But it was truly a place of isolation, because while God shared with me that he was truly doing a new work in me, it was just with me. It was me going through the things by myself. It was me and me saying it wasn't, me and my husband doing, no, because in all honesty, these changes, especially when my business wasn't performing well, and my husband's like, okay, I guess you're going to have to go back to work. But God said no. And Like, and I'm like, Lord, this is crazy. Are you sure? And so I'm like, he couldn't have said that. So I started looking for roles. Even though I really felt down deep inside, he didn't tell me to go back and nothing. And I have a great skill set, highly employable. Never have I ever had an issue finding a job, but not hearing anything back, like crickets. And I'm like, so do you really not want me to find or go back to like corporate? Like, I don't understand. And so it caused, because my husband thought like, same thing. You're highly employable, never had an issue finding a job. And now all of a sudden you can't find one. So it must be that you don't want to go back or you aren't really looking. So, and I'm like, Lord, why are you causing issues in my marriage? But he wasn't causing issues in my marriage. What he was doing was revealing issues that we already had, that were there, that we allowed to be covered up because we hid behind other things. We had, like, if it was something that needed to be done, let's say, for example, it was something I wanted my husband to do and he didn't do it. Well, I'll do it myself. I have my own money, like, instead of working together as a team. And so in that way, God was pruning me and showing us how to become one unit. My health was attacked. I was diagnosed with an early stage of breast cancer. I was just really in a sunken place, truly, truly in my wilderness. And I thought, like, God was like, why are you allowing this to happen to me? Like, what did I do to deserve this? That's what I kept, this whole victim mindset. But I had to get out of that place. It's not a victim mindset. Understand that when you're in that place, know that God is trying to prepare you for what he has for you. You're in a preparation process. You are being pruned because what he has for you, that old version of you, or even that current version of you, cannot go there. It can't withstand. It will crumble. You will fail. And God will never set us up to fail. And so he has to take us through. And for me, I realized it was pride. It was humility. There were things, and some people, I talked to a couple of friends and they're like, I don't think you were prideful. I don't think you were, I've always thought of you as humble. You didn't know. You didn't know the thoughts that I was thinking. You didn't know the moves that I was making, how we were just, spending money because it was there, how I would look down on certain people because I'm like, why can't they afford? Like, my mindset was just truly going the wrong way. And God had to cure me of so many things, and also made me speak up for him, because that was not something that I would do. And so he had to truly, truly make me speak up for him and align with him. And this is getting kind of long. I'm not sure we'll finish it all today. Maybe we'll have a part 2, but I just need you to know, as I come to a pause in where we are now, if you are in your wilderness, and I'm pausing right here in my wilderness in the journey of the wilderness for good reason, because I want you to truly just think about this. And sometimes we don't like to listen to messages about this. We want to hear the things where that says in 3 days, God is going to bless you. It'll happen overnight. All you have to do is this one thing and bam, your promises will come to pass. No, we have a wilderness. He has a process. And that process sometimes can take days. It can take weeks. It can take years. And that's really, really hard to hear. That's even hard for me to hear now when I listen to somebody say something like, God is going to do it for you, but in his time. And it's like, oh, man. Because we always know, even he doesn't come when we want, but he does always come on time. And so I just want you to think about, if you feel like you're in that wilderness, ask God, what is it that you want me to learn? What is it you want me to get out of this? How is it that how do you want me to grow? What are the people that may be in my life that aren't supposed to be? What are the things that I'm holding on to from my past? Or what areas of comfort am I stuck in that you're trying to get me out of? And I'm fighting it, whether I realize it or not. I'm fighting against where you have me to go. I'm not moving according to your plan because it doesn't look like what I think it's supposed to look like. It doesn't look like how I think you're supposed to work. And so I'm fighting against your plan. Truly have a conversation and fast. If he calls you to fast, fast. In whatever form or fashion that is. No, but I've heard this many times, and I do agree, when you're fasting, if you want to include things like social media and all that, fine. But a true fast is food. So if you want to include all the other, but ultimately know that it also means abstaining from food. Because when you starve the flesh, that's when the spirit has the opportunity to step in. And so whether it's from during a certain period of the day, whether it's, something like the Esther fast, and then you truly need to make sure you get covering from God if you're doing the Esther fast, because it's nothing to eat or drink, not even water for 3 days. The Daniel fast, 21 days, and all of these you can look up in the Bible, look them through Google, and Google will show you the scriptural reference. Like I said, if you want to fast for, from sun up to sundown, I'm not eating, whatever that thing is. But see if he's calling you to do that. And just know that he will cover you. But spend some time with God. Ask him, how do you want me to move forward? What's the best way for me to be able to clearly hear from you? Because a lot of times he's also just trying to get all of the noise and distractions out of our face, and really speak to us. But he has to put us in a place where he can. But we're so caught up in running to other people, running to the pastor, running to the sermon online, running to all of these other people. Nobody can speak to you better than God himself. And your answer may just be in the word, having prayer time, allowing him to truly impart, or just sit quietly, because we start talking, blah, 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 blah. I need, I want, please, please, please. Well, give him a minute to say something back, like pause, and allow him to say something back, to actually respond to your request. So if you're finding yourself in that wilderness, know that it is for a purpose, it is for a reason, and it's for a season also, which means it will come to an end. But you have to submit. And I know Lord, take this cup from me. Even Jesus said that on his way to the cross. However, he followed it up with, but not my will, but thy will be done. Meaning, this is hurting me. I am in pain. I am, maybe sad, uncomfortable, all of these things. But I know that if you allow me to go through this, it will come out for your good. And ultimately, we know, and your good meaning God's. And if it comes out for his good, then it can't help but come out good for us as well. And no, God will give you, William Murphy has this song. I don't know if it's a new song or not, but it's new to me. And it's one that I just feel every time I hear it, I feel like it's speaking to me. And in the words, I think the song is called Double, but in the words it says, God will give you double, triple for your trauma and all the other drama that you had to endure. My God is speaking to me now. So no, he always rewards those who are faithful to him. So just hold on to God's unchanging hand. Know that he is always there. He is always watching. He is always covering. He is always protecting. But you have to come to him. This life is not our own. And we can't do this by ourselves. And so to just provide a couple of additional scriptural references. Joshua 1:9, which Joshua, for those who may not be familiar, Joshua is the book of the Bible where the Israelites are finally going into the promised land. That happens in Joshua. And in Joshua 1:9, God tells Joshua, be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Keep him first. He won't leave you. Another verse, Ephesians 3:12, in whom we have boldness and access with confidence through faith in him. And this is the New King James Version. So again, boldness in God, having faith, So we can walk in boldness and have faith and confidence because we know that he is leading us. He is guiding us. It doesn't mean that we have all the answers. It just means that we are trusting in him and truly submitting to him. And the last one, 2 Timothy 1:7, and I'm going to give you two versions of this. So the first one, which I'm more familiar with, 2 Timothy 1:7, is the New King James Version. New King James Version, which says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind." But I also like 2 Timothy 1:7 in the English Standard Version, which says, "For God gave us spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control." Again, don't be afraid. God is with you. I know it may look crazy, it may look scary, or maybe you're not in that place. You're not in your wilderness because you haven't been obedient to do what God has called you to do, because you're afraid of what it could look like. You're living while you may not be fully submitted and knowing that something is missing or something is off. You're afraid of what the other side looks like. And I get it, because I was there for forever. I felt like people always suffer when they come to God. So why would I want to yield and go to God and suffer? All I hear is how people suffer. Now, granted, I hear the other side too, but the suffering that they had to go to get there. But I'm at a place now where if I have to suffer for God, then it's worth it. But knowing that when you suffer, it's not in vain. It's because he's trying to prepare you for something. He's trying to improve you. And it doesn't always feel good, but it always ends in joy. It will always end in joy. Third time for the ones in the back. It will always end in joy. As it is my eager expectation and hope that I will not be at all ashamed, but that with full courage, now as always, Christ will be honored in my body, whether by life or by death. And that's Philippians 1:20. Hey friend, if this episode stirred something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Make sure you subscribe to She Leads Boldly so you never miss an episode. And let's stay connected. Join our growing community of faith-driven powerhouse women where you'll find real talk, encouragement, and tools to fuel your journey. Oh, and I've created something special just for the bold, faith-driven women like you. An ebook, When You Know His Name. Discover identity, intimacy, and the power of prayer through the names of God. This ebook is designed to equip and encourage you to lead with clarity, courage, and conviction in every space God assigns you to. Available now on Amazon. And if you're ready for deeper clarity, I would love to personally walk with you. I offer a one-on-one session called Your Path to Purpose and Power, and it's to help you break through the overwhelm and realign with what God is actually calling you to in this season. Whether it's burnout, boundaries, or fresh vision, you don't have to figure it out alone. All links are in the show notes. Oh, and one last thing. I would love to hear from you. What questions are you carrying this season? What topics would serve your walk, your work, your womanhood right now? Send me a message or an email, because this podcast is for you, and I want every episode to speak directly to where you are. Remember, you don't have to choose between your faith, your family, and the calling on your life. God's grace makes room for it all. So until next time, stay anchored in purpose, covered in grace, and always ready to rise. Talk soon, friend.